tá se comportando, né? Voltamos, vamos fazer a missão do Kazuha, né? Não tá nem usando tanto assim, vai pra tá travando. Deixa eu tirar.
I'm very sorry, but we cannot afford to pay what we owe right now.
Tá, tem que botar no
My
automático.
husband has gone missing, and I'm still trying to find him.
No, you misunderstand us. We are here to help with the investigation. We'd like to ask you some questions about Mr. Nagato's disappearance, if we may.
Ah, I see. I thought the debt collectors had come to visit again. I'm sorry you have to see me in this dreadful state. Has some new information come out? Do you know where he's gone?
I'm afraid we don't have any new information at the moment. We're still trying to find out as much as we can to inform our search. With this in mind, can we perhaps ask some questions about your family's current situation?
For example, Paimon's struggling to understand why a collector would be strapped for Mora.
That's a long story. Ever since I've known him, he's been an avid collector of all sorts of things. He'd always get so animated when he was showing them to me. I knew nothing about the items myself, but seeing how enthusiastic and excited they made him, I was happy to believe that they were just extremely important to him. Everything was fine when we first got married, but as time went by, things changed for the worse.
Pera aí. Aí, voltamos, né? Vou pegar meu bolo ali.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Opa.
He lost his sense of restraint. He started buying more and more things, and even resorted to borrowing money just so he could pay for them. Our expenses really spiraled out of control when he started getting interested in weapons. It was awful. There were days when he'd spend hours down at the warehouse, admiring his weapons even as debt collectors were descending upon our house. He wouldn't sell them, wouldn't even touch them. Just sat there staring at them like he was in a trance. I'm happy he has a hobby, and I'm willing to support him. But making ends meet has to come first. I've tried talking to him about it so many times, but he never listens. On the last day that I saw him, I gave him an ultimatum. I said, if he refused to sell his collectibles and pay off his debts, I would divorce him and take the children with me.
Whoa!
And that led to an argument.
Actually, it didn't. Generally, he's a quiet man who likes to go with the flow. On most things, he leaves the decision-making to me. You must understand, I never would have dreamed of threatening him with divorce if the debts hadn't pushed our family to the brink. After I said those words, he froze and was silent for a long time. When he finally spoke, he awkwardly mumbled that he would pick out a few items to sell. His voice was so meek and pitiful that I felt an urge to take everything back. But then what? If I didn't draw the line, what would happen to our family?
Opa, sou eu. Você está certa. A moderação é importante.
Had I not indulged his bad habits, we wouldn't have found ourselves in such a predicament. And I also don't know if he had actually come to his senses, or if he was simply angry with me. The next thing I heard was that our warehouse had caught fire, and both he and the buyer had gone missing.
I see. I understand. Amin Omayuya came to purchase a weapon from Mr. Nagato. During the sale, a fire broke out at the warehouse, and both men disappeared.
At first, I assumed they must have gotten into an argument over the price. But my husband has never been one to negotiate. He never even haggles when he's out buying groceries, so it's hard to imagine him getting into a fierce argument.
Maybe he was feeling the pressure from the debts?
I don't know. He just disappeared after the warehouse burned down. Perhaps he's too afraid to come home now that all his collectibles have been lost in the fire, and he's got no way to pay off our debts. even though I'm still a little mad at him. We're a family, and I want us to face our family's crisis together. As long as he's willing to turn over a new leaf, I know we can work things out.
Please don't get upset. There could be more to this situation than meets the eye. If collecting things is a habit that Mr. Nagato had his whole life, it is quite unusual for this habit to change so drastically over a short period. But the information we gathered from the other side suggests Ame no Mayuya is also a mild-mannered man who would not be likely to start an argument. This situation is getting a little confusing.
A little confusing? More like completely mystifying.
Let's try a change of scenery and see if we can piece together what we've learned. Rest assured, we'll notify you if we find anything.
Thank you so much. I just want him to come home.
Pô, não tô falando muito, né? Tô comendo aqui. Ai. E aí, agora a gente vai fazer o quê? Opa, já
Based on the
foi.
information we've gathered so far, I can only surmise that the sales meeting between the two men was somehow the catalyst for their disappearance. The fire at the warehouse likely played a part in how the situation unfolded, though its exact role is a mystery. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, Paima was thinking that maybe someone accidentally knocked over an oil lamp and, nope, never mind. Paimon's brain needs to rest for a while. Over to you.
Talvez tenha sido uma disputa durante a transação. O fogo pode ter sido usado para esconder a verdade. Ainda falta a informação necessária.
An interesting explanation. I was also considering this possibility. Ame no Mayuya is an expert on swords. He could have noticed some problematic details about Mr. Nagato's collectibles. Maybe he recognized a blade as a fake, or a well-known stolen item. Either way, after arguing about it, the two men agreed to hide the truth of this matter. They thought a fire would destroy everything. But then the Tenryou Commission began investigating and uncovered some incriminating details, so they fled to protect their secrets. But it's a far-fetched theory. I can't imagine how they would have been able to reach an agreement. One fact that I keep coming back to is that Ame no Mayuya is polite and well-mannered, while Mr. Nagato is introverted and passive. Neither seems like the type of person who is inclined towards initiating conflict. Mr. Nagato, being heavily in debt, is also the only one of them with the potential motive to disappear after the fire. The more I ponder it, the more puzzling it becomes.
E quanto ao atacante, também não entendo.
Right. Although the time frame seems to broadly match, no other details that we've learned seem to link the two events together. Ame no Mayuya lacks a key distinguishing feature of the attacker, namely that he is principally a practitioner of the blade testing techniques of Amenoma art, not those of the combat-oriented Ishin art.
Darn! We thought we could get two birds with one stone here, but at this rate, it's starting to look like a wild goose chase.
Let's keep going, since we've come this far. If we can solve the case, both Mr. Amenoma and Mrs. Nagato will be able to get some closure.
Okay, but where should we go now?
Let's head out of the city and check out the warehouse. There's still a chance we may be able to find some shreds of evidence.
Eu tô comendo, não falo muito. Normalmente falo, também não falo muito, né? Nossa, bateu enjoo agora. Coisa doce demais. Vamos falar. Vou entrar na cidade. Ficou muito. Nossa, abalado. Não é o que dá, velho. É a missão lendária, né, que ele tá fazendo aqui por agora. É pedir por Fonte, eu quero me livrar delas. Eu ainda tenho muitas missões pra fazer.
Wait,
Esperem.
I hear something ominous in the wind.
Oh! This must be another one of those sounds that only you can hear. As sketchy as that whole thing seems, you did put it to good use when we were chasing down that vision thief at Beto's tournament, so...
É realmente confiável.
Now I'm picking up a strong scent in addition to the sound. It's right around here somewhere.
But there's nothing here.
It's gone now, but I can still sense the direction it left in. It felt very much like that ancient presence in Inazuma. The remnants of the Tatarigami.
Tatarigami... Não, espere. Esperei que viesse até aqui, né?
Indeed. But this unexpected spring of inauspicious energy may prove to be of benefit to our investigation. We should remain vigilant and approach slowly.
Devagar e lento.
So it's an
Ah, a gente já
underground
vai pra
warehouse.
treta. É um
The force is
subsolo.
definitely coming from down below. The source of the Tatarigami energy has long since left
Dungeon.
this place. But the residue it left behind still hasn't dissipated completely. Judging from the concentration, I would have to conclude that the Tatarigami source resided here for a very long time.
Mrs. Nagato said her husband used to hang around the warehouse by himself a lot.
It could well be that he was already under the influence of Tatarigami
Ninguém
energy at that
percebeu
time.
isso.
From what I've been told, Tatarigami does not turn all upon whom it preys into violent monsters, but most will develop a stubborn streak upon being exposed to the Tatarigami's unfulfilled will.
Hobbies.
Their interests become fanatical obsessions. Mr. Nagato had an interest in collecting to begin with. The influence of Tatarigami could explain why he became an obsessive hoarder, amassing more and more possessions, even as he put himself in grave debt.
So what should we do now? Go down and take a look?
Step back. I'll open the door and take a look inside.
É perigoso.
If we don't open this door, we can move no closer to the truth. You needn't worry. Both of us have faced far greater dangers than this. Relatively speaking, the risk here is trivial.
Assim ele vai.
What's down there?
Everything's buried in debris. I can't see anything. It looks like the fire caused a cave-in, reducing the entire warehouse to rubble.
Foi por pouco. Não sei se é bom ou ruim.
That was too scary! Paimon was so sure that the warehouse boogeyman was about to jump out at us!
All we can do now is keep searching in the direction that the Tatarigami energy source left this place.
Claro.
Two ordinary humans, entangled with the Tatarigami.
Vamos dar uma
I fear
olhada.
much misfortune. Yes, let's go. If nothing else, it's vital that we find out where this Tatarigami energy is coming from. Quiet your
Claro.
mind and focus on what you sense around you. Perhaps you too will perceive its ominous presence in the wind.
Ih, vou sentir. Calma aí, velho. Um cheiro pra encontrar